$10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today before these deals go up in smoke. Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-240-4917 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-240-4917. That's 800-240-4917. Again, 800-240-4917.
Here we go! From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
And welcome into another edition of the George Plaster Show alongside Kelly Holcomb, Billy Jones. I'm Billy Derrick, and we've got some Titans football to finally talk about, and we don't have much time to waste. Weather a little bit better today. Still a cloudy day. We got some possible showers tonight, so it's getting a little bit better. Still needed that rain, but it was an early morning for the Titans. Let's check in with Kelly Holcomb first out in Murfreesboro. Kelly, we've got Titans football to talk about. I know you're fired up.
Football season, man. Let's go. I'm ready. I mean, I would say that's the only season that counts, but I know we can't say that, although I just did. But I know baseball's still kicking in, but all the other sports. But, man, everybody just looks forward to football, and it's here.
And so does Terry McCormick, and we're going to send it out there to him live. Not at Titans training camp anymore. It was early this morning, but we've got him with us now, and this first Titans update is brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. Visit her online, mortgageladyyusa.com, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Terry, how's it feel to have the Titans back? Obviously a big storyline are a lot of the rookies, Tavondre Sweat, also the big offensive lineman from Alabama. So what did you gather from today as we just lost Terry? So great timing there.
That's no good.
Great start. Kelly, I'm starting to feel it though. Like, do you get that football season feeling, or do you?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I just like. It's amazing that it starts. It starts when it's really, really hot outside. I do not miss those days. I promise you. When you got, it feels like 85 pounds of gear on. You got shoulder pads, helmets, and I just did not. I do not miss that. Now I miss all the other things about football, but I do not miss that. But yeah, when it starts getting around the end of July, August, and then September is the season, man, it just feels like everything's right with the world.
Yeah, and it's right with Terry's connection again here. Terry, I think we got you back.
I have no earthly idea what happened. I was starting to speak, and all of a sudden the screen changed. It went to a different screen. It's like, what is going on here?
All good. We got to knock the rust off a little bit. But what were you able to gather today from training camp?
Well, I think one of the things that everybody wanted to see was, what the offense looks like, what it's going to look like under Brian Callahan, how Will Levis looked, and I certainly think that Levis passed the first test because, in the 11-on-11 drill, even though there weren't pads on, he was able to improve the timing of, his throws, getting the ball out quickly, getting it out on time, getting it to who it needed to go to. And it looked, for the first dress rehearsal there, looked pretty good. There was one pass in particular, and I wrote about this and asked him about it at his press conference after practice to Nick Westbrook-Akine. It was the type of throw was, an out-breaking route toward the sideline where Westbrook-Akine came from the middle of the field, and the ball hung in the air for quite a bit, a real touch pass as opposed to the bullets that we were used to seeing from Levis last year as a rookie. And he hit him right in stride, got both feet down, got out of bounds, that sort of thing. And I'm not sure that last year that's the type of throw that Levis would have completed with any amount of consistency, and certainly not with that touch. I think that is one of the things that looked most improved about Levis was just his command of the entire arsenal of what he was asked to do rather than just unleashing the fastball down the field.
I do want to ask about T'Vondre Sweat. Did hear that passed the conditioning test. That was a big question from Titans fans. How did he look out there today? Does it look like he's lost a few pounds, or are there still a few to cut off there?
Still a very large man. I don't know, if I don't know that he's ever going to be what we would say svelte, but I think he showed up out there a couple of times. Now, granted, you have to take this with a grain of salt on the first day of camp before pads go on, because the offensive linemen are at a distinct disadvantage because they're not able to, hold blocks and power the way that they would if they had the pads on. So I think it was still, there was times where the defensive line looked pretty solid against the run. And I noticed Sweat in there a couple of times making his presence known. So a good first early indication of what he can possibly do.
Before we wrap it up, the receivers, really intrigued to see what they look like, and not only in training camp, of course, in preseason, just getting the chemistry down with Will Levis. Is it how different is it from last year, just looking at that group and talking to them? I know you were able to talk to Calvin Ridley today.
Yeah, it's vastly different. I think it's one of those things where we've never really seen that type of situation around here, where 3 and 4 wide becomes the norm rather than 2 tight ends and, handing the ball off to a 230-pound running back. That's kind of even way before Derrick Henry. That's always been the Titans' MO. But to see them line up, go 3 wide, 4 wide, and those sorts of things, and that's going to become the norm here. And you're going to need more contributions from more guys. So that means, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, and yes, even Traylon Burks and some other guys can get in on the act. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of transforms and plays itself out throughout camp.
Terry, thank you so much for the report, and we'll be looking forward to it. What does the schedule look like here wrapping up this week?
The practice again tomorrow, then no practice no media availability on Friday, then practice Saturday at Nissan Stadium.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, Terry. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right, that's Terry McCormick, the first daily Titans update from Mr. Terry McCormick. We do have a little bit of an update here before we get to the break. Got a couple stories. Billy, this first one is really interesting. At Big Ten Media Days today, Kelly, new UCLA head coach Deshaun Foster had quite the awkward opening statement. He spent the last 7 years as the running backs coach for the Bruins. He's replacing Chip Kelly in their first year in the Big Ten. This was his opening statement.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting 2 great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC. We I'm just basically excited, really. That's it. Any questions?
He's just
Oh God, that was really awkward, man. That
Oh,
was
man.
kind of. I had secondhand embarrassment for him, man. That like have a plan. Like you always have to have a plan when
Oh,
you go into
gosh.
situations. You know.
He's just basically excited.
I don't know if you guys did you see the video though when they announced him as the head coach after Chip Kelly left?
I did not.
They brought him into the meeting room and the players started mobbing. So they love him. Obviously, there's more to coaching than just that. You got to do these kind of things, and certainly for Coach Foster, I guess maybe a little learning curve in terms of the media availability side of things. But I don't know. We'll see if he can bring it on the field. But yeah, that was certainly a rough start in terms of introducing yourself to the media.
Put yourself in the player's shoes. And I know we're joking about this, but as a player, do you take too much from that, Kelly? Or I mean, as a player, you already know your coach, but they'll probably poke some fun at him. He probably forgot one big thing to say and just kind of went blank, obviously, as you heard the silence.
Well, if you got a personality, he'll allow those guys to poke fun at him a little bit. I've been around coaches. When you did poke fun at them, they went crazy. So, it looks like he's kind of a player's coach type of guy, and he'll kind of laugh at it. But you always have to, being a head coach, man, you always have to be ready for situations like that. And he totally messed up his words. He got trapped there. I've been there, man. That's not a fun place to be.
No, absolutely not. We got one more big NBA story, though, right?
Yes, all week there's been a bidding war between TNT and Amazon Prime for a big NBA package. Obviously, ESPN's still going to keep theirs, but Prime Video won out over TBS. So included in this package, they're going to show weekly regular season games, they're going to show playoff games, they're going to show conference final games, and they're going to do the NBA in-season tournament along with the play-in tournament.
That'll be big.
I guess it's exciting it's going to streaming. I'm a little worried about George, though, if he needs to catch any of these games. Can we explain Prime to him, or is that...
Everything's going to streaming nowadays.
Hey,
George
good luck, man. Good luck.
Here in about a couple years, George isn't going to be able to watch anything. I mean, the NFL probably you'll be able to still watch that, but I mean the NBA's moving to streaming now. My biggest thing though, Kelly, no more Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie Johnson, and Kenny Smith. Rest in peace.
That's really. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy watching those guys too, man. They're really good at what they do, and hopefully something can be straightened out where they can stay together, man. I don't know, but yeah, George, you got a little hope for George though, because he, when I met him, he had a flip phone, and now he's at least stepped his game up and got an iPhone. Now it's one of the first iPhones to ever come out, but still, he can get his emails and he can get on the internet with that. So, there is hope.
The one thing the NBA had that was really going for them, they just got rid of it.
Yeah,
and so apparently they didn't match the Amazon deal, is what I'm hearing. Well, that was
I would assume not.
Talk.
I bet they wanted to keep it with TNT for as much as they could. It was just, I'm sure the Amazon money was too much to turn down. And I guess the money from Emirates Airline, too, is now sponsoring the in-season tournament. So, obviously that's the UAE instead of Saudi Arabia. But, again, sort of that influence coming into American sports. We'll see how that continues. Another big thing, Ross Dellinger reported. We were talking about this yesterday. I had heard the number was going to be around 90 to 95, talking about football roster spots. It's 105.
The number of scholarships.
Scholarships. Excuse me, not roster spots, scholarships. Which for big programs is a huge development, but there were a lot of smaller schools that I think were disappointed by this news today. Also, on that front, baseball now, it used to be 11 and a half scholarships. Now there's 34, so you can put every kid on your team on scholarship instead of having to split it up the way they've been doing it the past couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
leveling the playing field is what's
That's
going on.
big.
Football 20 more scholarships.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll make a difference. But you look at baseball, like you said, Billy, they go from 30, they go up to 34.
Yeah.
So 22 new scholarship spots for baseball. That'll improve the SEC even more. But to me, Kelly, you look at it, it's only making the monsters of college football even more powerful when you can now you're going to be plucking away the players from the group of 5 immediately, as opposed to maybe waiting for them to enter the portal is how I'm thinking that'll probably end up.
So is that in just the big conference, Billy, or is that group of 5?
No, that's every team has the 105 roster spots.
105.
Yeah.
Wow.
But not every
scholarship spots again. Excuse me.
But not every school is going to be able to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's amazing right there. 105.
Yeah.
Like, are they gonna? They're not gonna have any more walk-ons. There's not gonna be any room for walk-ons anymore.
Well, yeah, we brought that up because that was a big story a couple months ago. You got coaches that are vocal, against it, but there's also some case behind it. So that you're probably right, Kelly. I didn't think about that. It's probably the destruction of walk-ons at this point. If you're giving that many scholarships out. So
this was something though that I heard from Coach Drinkwitz on, and he was talking about it being even big going forward this year because to win the national championship now you got to win. It could be that you have to win 17 games, right? So he was saying you need a lot more depth on this team, and then when you talk about the amount of guys that considering anybody can leave in the transfer portal, it's nice that you can have a more solid base. But of course, that's going to be at the expense of the smaller schools.
Yeah. Real quick, before we go to the break, we're going to get to Richard Pearl from Keller Williams Realty. But first, I want to tell you guys, I got a shorter show for radio listeners today. We're going to be hopping off at 4:48. The Braves have Game 2 of a doubleheader against the Reds. They played earlier today. Game 2 coming up at about 4:50, I think is the exact time. We'll leave here 4:48. We'll stay on our socials, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, but we're going to hop off for the radio listeners at 4:48. But before we get to the break, let's hear from Richard Pearl from Keller Williams Realty.
Hello, I just want to talk to you today about listing your home. If you've been thinking about listing your home but don't know what your home is worth, please feel free to give me a call at 615-268-7996, and I will run a comparable market analysis for you and see what your home is worth. 615-268-7996, or my office number is 615-895-8000.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
The IC Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Looking for a way to elevate your engine's performance? Start with Napa Full Synthetic Engine Oil. It provides faster oil flow for hot and cold temperature protection in the harshest driving conditions. Regular use can help your engine run cleaner and longer by defending against sludge and buildup, improving overall engine performance and fuel efficiency while increasing the time between oil changes. Make the switch without slowing down. Feed your ride Napa Full Synthetic Engine Oil. Available now at Napa locations nationwide.
Here's Stan Harrison for Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, George. We at Apple Collision Centers understand the stress that auto body repair process can put in your day-to-day lives. We at Apple Collision Centers, we have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. You can stop by and get an estimate, or you can get one online at www.applecollisioncenters.com.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. We're going to head down to Aggie Land, talk a little Texas A&M football with David Nuno from TexAgs.com. David, thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate the time as well. So, Nashville's a place that I thought I was going to hate because they took away my Houston Oilers, and I visited a couple years back. I'm like, I love this town. This town's awesome.
Well, let's hop into where you are right now. Dallas and Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC. I got to ask you an honest question here. How do you feel about the Longhorns coming into the SEC?
I change my mind daily. Like, honestly, there's the youth in me growing up. I mean, I've basically been an Aggie my whole life, right? I remember watching Bucky Richardson in the 80s. So I'm excited about my kids being able to see that rivalry, what it means. Because, when they say it just means more in the SEC, it certainly means more when it's Texas and Texas A&M. So from that part of it, I'm super excited about it. And I would love to be a team that knocks them away from potentially the playoffs. What I don't love is how, there's a part of me that doesn't want to play them because Texas has the amazing ability to make it about them, even when it's not about them. And I can deal with it with Alabama and I can deal with it with Georgia, right? But I just can't deal with it with our team 90 miles away from College Station.
Let me ask you about that rivalry. We haven't seen Texas and Texas A&M play in a while. I think a lot of people are, like you said, happy for it to be back. Give me a look into the fabric of that rivalry, why there is so much hatred, and what we might be able to expect from this rivalry now that it's an SEC rivalry.
I don't know if you heard, but our head coach in baseball left for Texas. If that's not reason to hate every one of them, and my wife's a Longhorn, unfortunately, then I don't know what is. Look, you have it in every state, right? You have these in-state rivalries that you go to work with people, you go to church with people, you have your neighbors, and everything is fine and dandy until you start talking about your football team, right? And that's when the gloves come off. It's the same way with A&M and Texas, except I feel that, to A&M's credit, they did not bow to Texas. They left for the SEC, and Texas, I think, was offended by that, the way they responded to it. Like, how dare you go and leave our conference, the Big 12? Now, where's Texas? And part of the reason is that they saw the success A&M had recruiting-wise. Now, did A&M put up the numbers football-wise, the wins that they should have in the 10 years or longer than 10 years? No, they have not. We know that. 2012 was a long time ago. 2020, there's a lot of question marks about how legitimate that 9-win season was, 9 out of 10 games, with an all SEC schedule I bring up. But they saw the success. They saw the brand change. And that's, I think, part of the reason that Texas and Oklahoma came to the SEC. It's a huge rivalry for many, many reasons. But A&M was sick of playing second fiddle in a conference that really just catered to Texas. And in the SEC, I think we all agree, they're not going to run it. Nobody runs it, right? It is a legit conference for everybody in the SEC.
You mentioned Jim Schlossnagle. I know we're talking football, previewing the Aggie season, but take me inside behind closed doors about how that happened. I still can't believe it happened, but why did Jim Schlossnagle leave, and how surprised were you and the rest of Aggie faithful that he's now a Longhorn?
Not surprised. You know why? Our guy was the one who asked him the question and got yelled at. So Richard Zane, who worked for me or works for us at Texags, he's the one who asked that question. We had started hearing some whispers a while back that he was interested in the Texas job, and there's multiple reasons. He wanted to go there years back. His good friend, Chris Del Conte, is the athletic director. So it makes sense. Where it doesn't make sense is that you were literally a half inning away from tying the national championship. You were 7 outs away from potentially winning the national championship in Game 2 against Tennessee, something that your fan base knows, your audience certainly knows all about. I'm not surprised by it. We had heard whispers for a while, but I just don't think you do that. I don't think you go from rival to the next one. I don't think it's cool, especially if you have everything you want. It wasn't about salary. A&M was going to give him everything he wanted. It wasn't about stadium because A&M was going to give him everything that he wanted. It wasn't about a lack of fan support because A&M gave him the best lack of fan support that there is. It was about, I think he wanted to go to Texas and wanted to be with his little brother, right? And if that's the case, so long, buddy. I don't think you do that. I don't like the way he handled it, but Jim was great to me. He was great to our company, and he's going to win at Texas because he's a great coach. I just think A&M is going to be able to win with Mike Arley as well.
All right, let's hop back over to football. Aggies hire an Aggie, Mike Elko. All right, coming from Duke. He's been at Texas A&M. What's the feeling around the program right now, and how confident are you that Mike Elko is the right guy for the job to bring Texas A&M football back to where everyone thinks it can be?
I'm very confident for a couple of reasons. Now, does that mean year one? I think I'm more in the 8-4, 9-3 range in year one. You know, a game here could change it to a 10-2 season. It could change it to a 7-5 season, right? And I know that's not going out on a limb, but I'm very confident for multiple reasons. He's doing the things that Jimbo did not do. Now, Jimbo was stubborn. Okay, Jimbo did not evolve. That is part of the reason Jimbo was not successful at A&M. But I would say the other part was, he just didn't have great offensive line play. And the way that A&M played, the way Jimbo likes to play, you've got to have great offensive line play. If your starting quarterback goes down every year, and by the way, your backup quarterback goes down every year, which we've seen the last 3 years for A&M, you're not going to win a lot of football games. Those games, as most games in the SEC do, came down to fourth quarter play. And A&M was unable to do it with a bad offensive line. And so to go back, that was more about Jimbo. To go back to Elko, Elko is very detail-oriented. All the questions that were out there about relationships with high school football coaches, the questions about a different training environment, how detail-oriented he is, the expectation level, the standard that he is setting, the addition of Tommy Moffitt as your strength and conditioning coach, which spends the most time. I think those are all reasons to really feel that you can win. And also, people talk about how many players A&M lost. They lost players, absolutely. You go 5-7 and 7-5, you lose players. But guess what? Everybody lost players. And I would say a big chunk of the guys from that 22 class are still there, still playing. Connor Wigman has only started 8 games. He's got, 19 touchdowns to his 2 interceptions. If you give him a good offensive line, he's going to flourish. The questions, though, are about wide receiver, because you've got flashes of brilliance, but you don't have a 5-star legitimate guy who can take the top off. You've got some guys that Moose Muhammad can do one-handed acrobatic catches. Noah Thomas has never had a 100-yard game, but he has had a 3-touchdown game. Can those guys be guys you can depend on? And I certainly think you can depend on their backfield.
I'm interested. We talk about Georgia, Texas being up at the top, Alabama, LSU, Tennessee. Feels like A&M is kind of floating around towards the middle of the pack. Is that the right spot for them? And where do you think the Aggies are in the pecking order heading into this SEC season?
I think they're a team that should be in the conversation for the playoffs mid-October, early November. Should be in the conversation. Does that mean that I think they're going to be a playoff team? No, I don't think so yet, because I'm a big believer in let me see it first. I have not seen this new offensive line. I have not seen these defensive backs. Everything is unknown. And we know, I heard this example earlier, and I think it's great. Matt Rule, what he did in Nebraska. He is setting his culture, and it's going to take time. And you could see some of it kind of working towards the end of last season. I think A&M's got a lot more talent than Nebraska had last year during the transition. But it takes time for that to happen. And if A&M is able to not only get down that culture early on, and really a tough September to start. You start off with Notre Dame, a top 10 team at home. That's going to be a tough game as your first game as Mike as a head coach in Mike Elko. But then 2 weeks later, you go on the road to Florida, and anywhere in the SEC is a hard place to go and win on the road. Florida is going to be the best 6-6 team in the country, right? Like you look at that schedule, how do they not go 6-6 or 5-7? But I think they're really, really good. Depending on how they do that first month of the season, I think determines if we're talking about a team that could be talking about the playoffs. And I say that to you, I want to take you back to 2021. A&M went 8-4. That was the year they beat Alabama. By the way, they haven't won a road game since after the Alabama game. So they beat Alabama October the 9th, whatever it was, in that range. Then the next week they go to Missouri. They have not won a road game since then. But that season, they were in the conversation to play in the SEC championship game, but they dropped their last two games. In the fourth quarter, by the way, to Ole Miss and to LSU. In the LSU game, we can talk about a whole hour about what happened at the end of that one. But I say that to you, that's what I think A&M is. A&M is going to be one of that kind of team that probably has a loss or two that they don't want to have, but they're going to be in the conversation is what you do that last month of the season, which might include disrupting Texas's chances for the playoffs.
Last thing, not every team in the country can feel confident about their quarterback, but you feel pretty good with Connor Wigman behind center.
Yep.
What are the expectations for him, and is he a guy that can take your team on the road and get you a big road win that potentially could lead to a playoff berth for Texas A&M if all things go right this year?
Well, luckily the road games for A&M aren't crazy this year, right?
Yeah.
You got all your tough games at home. You got LSU at home. You got Texas at home. You got Notre Dame at home, right? You do go to Mississippi State. You do go to Auburn late in the season. That's going to be hard. I think Auburn's going to be a really good team, kind of in that same conversation as A&M, in the conversation potentially. As I'm not a believer in Peyton Thorne, but Hugh Freeze is legit. So I guess back to the question about Connor Wigman. The last time we saw Connor really play, he played a little bit in the Auburn game, but he got hurt. That's where he broke his foot. You go before that, the Miami game, a game that A&M lost. And the reason they lost is they had zero secondary. Connor was hit every play. It was ridiculous. He was sacked 0 times. That guy kept on delivering darts every play. He threw for over 300 yards. He did have a couple interceptions. By Anaya Smith that was picked up by Miami. The other one was on the very last offensive play of the game. It was a 4th down situation where he had to right now based on what I've seen. But we haven't seen how he looks since his injury. The spring game was kind of limited, and he wasn't running great just yet. We'll see how he looks in the fall, but all indications is he's fully healthy now.
Looking forward to seeing what the Aggies can do this season. That is David Nuno from TexAgs.com. David, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, little Aggie football talk coming up. We'll talk a little more football here on the George Plaster Show, 95.9 FM.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available. We have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
National Radio, Kevin Todd, president and CEO of thesportsbrokers.com, is releasing his underdog game of the month. The wrong team is favored. It's yours absolutely free. Call now, 800-220-6262. The line on this game is off by 10 to 14 points. Start your football season on a winning note. There's no one better against the spread than Kevin Todd. Become part of Kevin Todd's inner circle and you'll have access to his upset specials. Dogs winning outright. Favorites running away to win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let thesportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now, 800-220-6262.
Welcome back in. George Plaster's show. 4:40 is the time here on 95.9 FM. We've got some breaking news. Tonight's Braves and Reds game, which would have been the second game of a day-night doubleheader, has been postponed due to expected storms. Yet another rainout for the Braves. It'll be made up on September the 9th, which had been open day on the Braves schedule before a standalone 2-game series at Washington. So after what was supposed to be a shortened show today, we're going full show. So full show today all the way through, and that means we'll be able to welcome more of your calls if you want to chime in. 615-844-5600. Also got the chat room on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you watch the show. great visit there with David Nuno from TexAgs.com. He really knows his stuff. He's covered the Aggies for a long time, Kelly, and I thought it would be interesting to get into this rivalry. Texas and Texas A&M haven't played since 2011, and people have missed out on that. It's a really good, strong rivalry. You probably know it better than Billy and I do, and obviously George does as well, because there's a lot of history behind it. But it's interesting to see where this ranks, where this fits among the other SEC rivalries. It's probably not better than the Iron Bowl. The Egg Bowl is still fierce, right? But Texas A&M, that's going to be the last game of the season, right, Billy? Thanksgiving weekend?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's going to be massive, Kelly, and that could have some huge playoff implications as well.
Well, there is, you talked about those rivalries, and I remember reading a book, and Bear Bryant was talking about, he was always talking about how Auburn and Alabama, everybody thought that was the biggest rivalry going, but he was like, in my opinion, the rivalry we've got with Tennessee is more important than the one that we've got with Auburn. That's what he said in a book a long time ago. So that's pretty impressive. But I was looking, because I knew we were going to talk about this, I was looking at the overall win percentage of Texas A&M and Texas, and it's not really close, guys. I mean, everybody used to say when I played for the Browns, well, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, but if you don't win any games, then it's not really a rivalry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you look at the overall, it's been dominated. Like every sport, I was looking down through there, every sport has been dominated by the Longhorns. So I can understand when, you get guys on here from Texas talking about, the stepchild down the road that's 90 miles down the road. I understand that because it's 76, 37, and 5 in Texas's favor.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's, now in the early 2000s, I think the Texas A&M bunch kind of had their way with Texas, but overall you look at that, so you've got to win some games for it to be a rivalry, but I think it's a healthy one, and especially with the baseball coach doing what he did, that's only sticking a nail right into those Texas A&M Aggie fans, and they're going to be ready. And I think they've got a really good football coach who was obviously there as an offensive coordinator, went and got his head coaching resume at Duke. He turned Duke around. I mean, Duke, Duke, when Jameson and those guys played Troy in the bowl game, man, those guys, they had some dudes on that team. Yeah, well coached, and they had some guys, and they beat Clemson last year, first time ever. So it's he's the right guy for the job. And just listening to some of their young men talk at SEC Media Days, it's totally different from when Jimbo Fisher was there. They're more detailed. Their schemes are a little tougher to learn, but if you do learn them, I mean, it's kind of a pro style deal. I think they're going to be pretty good. But I don't know if it'll be this year. I'm kind of like him. I'm not sure it's going to be this year, but this rivalry going back, we talk about Texas. We've been talking about Texas, and the whole thing was Texas, Oklahoma. And I'm going to bring up what Chris said. Everybody's talking about Texas right now, but Oklahoma's kind of giving it to Texas the last. I think they've won 7 out of 10.
Yep.
And they won last year too. So. That's two really good football teams coming into the league. I'm sure Texas A&M was upset when they heard that Texas was coming in, because I think they felt like they had an advantage with recruiting in that state with that. I don't know if that truly happened, but it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
It really is, and we're going to get to the phone lines here in a second. If you want to chime in on this Texas A&M rivalry, where it ranks among the SEC rivalries, give us a call, 615-844-5600. Full show today. We're about to be cut short here in a few minutes, but still full show today, so we're all good there. One more thing on Elko, Kelly. Number one, he's an Aggie, right? He was a DC there under Jimbo.
Excuse me, DC, not OC. Yeah, DC.
That's right. Yeah, DC.
18 through 21, so 4 whole years.
Had some, and when he left, they dropped off big time after he left. That's number one. Number two. People hate to hear the word culture. It's a big buzzword, but the culture is going to be so much better under Mike Elko as opposed to Jimbo Fisher, and he'll bring a physicality. That Duke team they didn't have the biggest defensive linemen, but like Kelly said, they had some dudes. Their recruiting probably won't fall off a ton. Now, they've lost some guys. They lost Walter Nolan, of course, but he'll sustain that, and he'll just get it back above water because they were close. I mean, if you have Jimbo one more year, that thing probably sinks.
Yeah, I think you're right. But on that rivalry, I guess just one more piece. It definitely is probably a little more on the A&M side, but Texas definitely doesn't like losing. A lot of A&M traditions, too, are based around beating Texas. They used to do a big bonfire the night before the football game that unfortunately had a tragic ending. Also, the A&M fight song talks about sawing off horns. Like there's a whole culture at Texas A&M that's very built into beating Texas. So we'll see if they can get it done this year.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Tony in Nolensville. Tony, how you doing?
Billy and Kelly, and hope you all are having a good day. It seems like you are, and great conversation piece, no doubt. But Billy, I've got to ask you. You know, I've listened to a lot of analysts, sports analysts everywhere, and on the TVs, on other radio shows. Y'all have too. I know you do. It seems like Vanderbilt is the only team that's not going to be talked about going to the playoffs this year. It seems like every team in the SEC is going to, all the other 15 teams are going to end up in a 12-team playoff. I mean, you're just constantly hearing, this one's good, that one's good. They're expecting to do this. They're going to do that. And it's just not everybody can be winners, and not everybody's going to get in the playoff system, especially with the other conferences being involved. But I've just heard that, and I know it's preseason chatter talk, but I just laugh at it because everybody's got all the pieces they need, and they've got all the coaches in the right place, and everything's wonderful right now. Isn't that right, Kelly?
Everybody's undefeated right now. Yep. But it is a good point, Tony. You look at the SEC, and we've talked about it. 8, 9, maybe even 10 teams that can make the playoff. I do wonder, is that too many?
Yeah.
Like Tony brings up a good point. Vanderbilt's not the only team that is being talked about, is not being talked about as a playoff. In Mississippi State, Arkansas, Carolina, even Florida. I've heard some people saying Florida with an outside shot. Have we been talking about too many teams there? I wonder.
I'd cut it off at 8. I think A&M down is, I'd put it as virtually nilch your shot of getting to the playoff. Yeah. I don't think A&M or Auburn's getting there. Yeah. Kelly, do you agree with that?
I do. Yeah, I don't think those other teams can, man. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how many SEC teams do get into the playoffs. It could be less than we think or more than we think. I don't know. I just, I think there's a lot of unknowns about Alabama. Can Ole Miss, win the big game? Can LSU get, can Nussmeier come in and play well? Can Missouri do what they did last year? I know Billy's a Missouri guy, but can they do that? Then
a lot of question marks on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And can Nico do it for Tennessee? I mean, everybody says he can. Tony says he can. Swears up and down. Oklahoma's kind of on that edge. I'm not sure, but they did beat Texas last year. So, I just think the bottom tier of the SEC has no shot. And I would definitely. I just don't think Texas A&M is ready. I don't think Auburn. I'm just not sold on Peyton Thorne. It'll be interesting to see how that Vandergrift kid plays for Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And Billy Napier. I mean, he's got to play better. They've got to play better for Florida this year. If they don't, I think he's on a hot seat. I really do. So, South Carolina just did not live up to what they were supposed to, and then. Arkansas. Arkansas starts off good every year, and then there's no go. And then Mississippi State, they got a new coach after the tragic loss of Coach Leach a couple of years ago. I mean, they just haven't rebounded. And then Vanderbilt, I actually think, I'm going to give Tony a little props, but I think Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia, I think that kid is a baller. I think he's tough as nails. I think he's a competitor, and I think that's going to make a huge difference in that Vanderbilt locker room and on the field. Now, I don't know if that parlays the wins. I'm not sure of that, but I just don't think those bottom 8 have a shot.
Yeah, I think it's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to. Tony, you got anything else?
The Texas A&M rivalry deal. Yep. Kelly, when Texas, it was announced that they were coming. If I remember correctly, I think Texas A&M tried to block it. They were the only team out of the 14 that refused to accept them. And then I think after a lot of pressure from the office and everything, I think they finally gave in. But, guys, you look at the state, you look at Texas A&M, Texas, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. You've got Mississippi State and Mississippi. All those, I say the other schools, the stepsisters or the sisters, always seem to have to cater up to the state school. The Alabama, the Texas, the Ole Miss, and the Tennessees. There always seems to get more recognition, more talked about, more of the more, and the haves of the haves than the other schools within that state. And it just seems like that's what's happening. That's obviously what's happening down there with Texas A&M. We know it's been going on here for many years with Tennessee and Vanderbilt. So, guys, y'all be careful going home. And I know y'all talk about it a little bit more. Good show, guys.
Thanks, Tony. Take it easy. Yeah, that's Kelly, that's interesting. Texas A&M. I mean, both of those I'd say are halves. I mean, they've got the resources. Alabama and Auburn, they've both got everything, and it's almost rare now to see an in-state rivalry like a Tennessee Vanderbilt that's so disparaging. Even Georgia Tech now. Georgia Tech has a really good program, and that it kind of tells you Vanderbilt can be better than they are right now. I mean, I heard this from a friend of mine the other day, and this is a really reliable source because he got it from a really, really reliable source. Okay.
But if you're looking at, the collectives, talked about UT having one billionaire that's helping all that out. Texas A&M, 76 billionaires.
Wow. Texas A&M has some moolah. Let's just say
money,
that.
Man. I mean, that whole state has money, man. It's George makes fun of it, but he's true.
You got little
J.R. Ewings down there that are oil guys that, 76 billionaires that give to that program.
They paid $70 million for Jimbo not to coach the team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of those dudes were just done and wrote a check and said, "Beat it."
Yeah, and they go and got their guy, Mike Elko, and we'll talk more SEC football here coming up, but we got to get to stat of the day, and then Mike Organ from the Tennessean will check in. We'll talk a little high school football. MTSU had their media day yesterday in Conference USA. Talk a little Blue Raiders with some excitement around that program, and we'll talk a lot more football coming up right here, 95.9 FM.
Good afternoon. T-Dot's behind this crash over here. They got it to the left-hand side. 24 westbound, right at 440. Of course, the heaviest flow of traffic in this area is going eastbound, headed out towards the Antioch area. It's crowded now up through Madison on 65 going northbound as you work your way on up into Goodlettsville. It's some radar earlier, I-40 out in Wilson County, especially the Mount Juliet area. 24 is picked up now. More volume eastbound as you continue out into Rutherford County. Prince's Hot Chicken has new items on the menu. Check it out. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Hello, I'm Greg Figueroa.
And I'm David Figueroa. Over 30 years ago, my brother Greg and I set out on a mission to offer the world a better hot sauce.
That's right, David. We made Melinda's thicker, hotter, and better than ordinary hot sauces.
And now we have 32 exciting and delicious sauces that hot sauce fans are obsessed with, like our ghost pepper sauce, our Thai sweet chili, and our best-selling black truffle hot sauce.
Melinda's also has 5 spicy ketchups made with real sugar and no added junk like high fructose corn syrup. People ask David and I, what makes Melinda so good? That's easy. We think like chefs do. Instead of burning someone with hot peppers and vinegar, we use fresh plant-based ingredients and the finest chili peppers perfectly blended to set your mouth on flavor.
Go to melindas.com to find our line of craft condiments at Walmart and other fine retailers. And right now, get 20% off our award-winning sauces with code SPORTS at melindas.com. That's melindas.com. melindas.com.
Buyandtow.com. Get cash for junk cars. Do you have a vehicle that's become a problem? You can get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. They'll buy your vehicle no matter the condition, in your driveway, at your mechanic shop, or even on the side of the road. Give them a call today at 615-480-6473 or visit buyandtow.com. Get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. 615-480-6473. Buyandtow.com. That's buyandtow.com.
There are certain sounds that just scream summer, like
This one. And this one. And who can forget about these? That's right. It's the sound of players all across the state winning with the new July Instant Games from the Tennessee Lottery. So play today for your chance to win up to $500,000. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? The Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
We're talking to Nick Casario. I'm not sure how much you're willing to divulge in terms of the trade for Stephon Diggs, but how did that deal go down?
It wasn't something that we necessarily had on the radar. It wasn't necessarily something I think Buffalo was necessarily shopping. At some point, we felt there was an opportunity for us. I think if you look around the league, just teams are more open-minded. In the end, every team has to do what they feel is in their best interest. And in the end, we were able to work out an agreement with Steph and get him on the team.
Jim Rome is here weekdays 11 to 2 on Nashville Sports Radio, WNSR.
It's time for Stat of the Day, presented by Adam Whitehead Plumbing in Nashville. If you ever have issues with your water heaters, bathrooms, kitchen sinks, water or sewer lines, give Adam a call. 615-485-1534. Let's take a look at what we got today. Despite an excellent performance last night, Paul Skeens suffered his first loss since his days at LSU. Who is the team that beat him last at LSU?
I know this. It was in Omaha. I think it was Wake Forest in Omaha, because Tennessee went 0-2 against them. They lost to Paul Skeens in that first game. Yeah, I think this is Wake Forest. I don't know if you remember that, Kelly.
I think it's got to be in Omaha, and that's what I was. I'm not.
Yep.
I couldn't remember Wake Forest, but I knew it wasn't Tennessee. I don't think it's Tennessee, but I think you may be right.
Yeah, the only two teams before the final series they played were Wake and Tennessee, so it's got to be Wake.
Arkansas.
Wait, go back to that
Arkansas.
question. We might have stumped old intern Ty here. Paul Skeens suffered his first loss since his days at LSU. Okay, we did stump him because Wake beat LSU. They had to get out of the losers bracket in Omaha that year. A couple years ago.
But was that Skeens? Because that was right after they played LSU, right? Or right after they played Tennessee?
That Skeens might not have started that game.
Let's see. Pulling up the box score.
I think you might be right about that now. I was thinking of just LSU.
Yeah, it was Ty Floyd who pitched that game against Wake Forest. And then LSU, of course, comes back to beat him twice.
Okay, so Ty
said, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah. I thought we stumped him a little bit there. But that was a good question because I guess that was SEC regular season there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if that was tournament or regular season. It was tournament.
Okay. So, I was actually at that game. Okay. Man, Skeens didn't pitch in college that long ago. He's already dominated in the pros. That's crazy. All right, coming up, Mike Organ from the Tennessean. We'll talk a little bit of everything locally here in Nashville, a little bit of high school football, a little bit of Blue Raider action, and much more. Stay tuned right here at 95.9 FM.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. For the first time, Americans will hear from President Biden after his decision to drop out of the presidential race. He'll deliver a primetime address in just a few hours. Earlier today, presumptive nominee Kamala Harris held an event in Indianapolis, speaking at one of the nation's historically black sororities. Tonight, Donald Trump holding his first rally since Biden announced he was stepping aside. ABC's Mary Alice Parks says the Trump campaign now working to change strategy.
It's one thing when you're speaking to your base, but Republicans have believed that they can sort of cross the aisle, that they can, for instance, make inroads with the African-American community, can make inroads with suburban women. And if he veers into the more personal attacks, he could really put that at risk.
Protesters in Washington, D.C. today demanding a ceasefire in Gaza as Israel's prime minister delivered a speech to members of Congress defending Israel's war in Gaza and urging the U.S. to continue its support. This is ABC News.
Summer is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive, unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today, before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-617-0239. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-617-0239. That's 800-617-0239. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
No George this week. He's out on vacation. He'll be back next week. The whole gang back together, and we'll be rocking and rolling for football season. We did have our first Titans report from Terry McCormick earlier today. Good visit with David Nuno, talking a little Texas A&M Aggies under Mike Elko, year one of his tenure. Talked a little bit about the Texas A&M rivalry. But first, let's go to Mike Organ with the Tennessean joining us now. Mike, how's it going?
Good, Billy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I want to start with the Blue Raiders. You haven't been at Conference USA Media Days, have you?
I covered it yesterday via Zoom.
Okay.
I wasn't actually physically there in Frisco, Texas, but I did cover the MTSU portion of it, and I sat in on, 3 or 4 others.
Yeah, I want to get to that because obviously, Kelly with his history there, and feels like people starting to look alive a little bit. Derek Mason obviously was at Vanderbilt. Now he's with MTSU. Saw that Nick Vadiato, Brendan Harris, a 7th-year guy who started at Vanderbilt, had transferred from Wake Forest, and then Devin Curtis, a local kid, I think played at Brentwood Academy, were all there with Coach Mason. What did you sense from the excitement, and what could we expect from Coach Mason and the Blue Raiders this year?
Well, first of all, and Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, was on the call as well. He was on the Zoom with me, and I thought the most interesting thing was not the most interesting, but what I liked was that at the end, Chip asked a question about. He said, it's become a saying in Murfreesboro that if 4 or more people get together, then Derek Mason's going to be one of them. And that's what I have liked so far about Derek Mason. We don't have anything to judge on the field so far, nothing, X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes and all that. But what has been really good is to see Derek get out in the community, go to as many events as he can, get his team, his players to go out. He encourages them to go out to the farmers market. Just go out and meet people and make themselves available and connect with the community, because that community for a long time, ever since I was in school, has never engaged with the football program like it should, or like you would hope it would. And Derek is just taking it upon himself to go out and meet people and tell them about the program, what he's doing, and personally invite them to come out and check out the team and see if it's something they enjoy. So I thought that Derek's 15 minutes at the podium yesterday, the most interesting came at the end when Chip asked that, and then we went into pretty good discussion about it and why he does it and how it's gone, because he pulled no punches when he took the job in December. I think it was in January, a month after he took it. He said he had made an assessment of the fan base, and he said it was an apathetic fan base. And that happened, at some point, and he's actually, it's been that way for a long time for football. And he said he was going to do something about it. And other than win, which is the best thing you can do, he's done everything he could in the last 7-8 months to go out and connect. And I like that. As far as on the field, the one thing Derek said about that was that he didn't think a rebuild was necessary. He felt like there was a nucleus for them to pick up and him make improvements on where they were last year. He said he learned when he became a head coach not to try to change everything overnight. Look at the strengths of your program and build on those strengths and recruit to those strengths. And that's what he's going to be doing this year. They got a tough schedule, really tough schedule. 5 out of their first 6 games they won't be favored in. And so we're going to find out quickly, but he's not going to make any radical changes. Still going to be a 4-3 defense, and I'm not sure what he's going to do on offense. He said his main concern is doing a better job protecting the quarterback, and I always love hearing that. My favorite thing is to have a good offensive line. I think if you could do that, there's so many other things you can do.
Week 4, Duke at home, which is really interesting matchup there. Kelly, we've talked about this a lot with MTSU. Feels like they just needed a guy like a Derek Mason to come in there in that community and get everybody excited for football. I mean, you're in the mid-state. It's a growing city, specifically in Murfreesboro, and I think he's doing a pretty good job of that so far.
Yeah, I'm going to add to what Mike said. I mean, he's been out more. You've seen him more than you saw the other guys. So, I liked him, but Derek you've got to have some enthusiasm. And we had an alumni event up here a couple of weeks ago, and where we all got together, and it was mostly Coach Donnelly's guys. We need to get Coach Stockstill's guys, Nanny McCullum's guys, but it was mostly Coach Donnelly's guys. He came and spoke with us, and I was with Derek. He was a quality control coach when I was in Minnesota. He was just starting his career as a coach. So, I like what he's doing, man. He's doing. He's getting out. He's getting the kids out in the community. And Mike just talked about it. My wife was at the farmers market, and those kids were up there introducing themselves to people. And that's what a community like Murfreesboro needs. Now Murfreesboro's getting really big, but if you want people to come to the stands and fill those stands up, start recruiting here. Start recruiting kids in the mid-state. Bring guys here that they don't have to. Their parents don't have to go far to fill that stadium. And it's there. You just gotta go out and get it. And he's doing a good job.
Mike, let's get into some high school football here. I love talking high school ball with you. Obviously, you've covered it for a long time. I want to get into Division II AAA. Paul Wade is the new head coach at Brentwood Academy. He's got George McIntyre, obviously, as his quarterback. Not a bad quarterback there for as your year one gig there at BA. What can we expect from that team? Because obviously that was a historically bad season for them last year.
Well, and to kind of curtail off of what we were just talking about, when I said that, if you've got a good offensive line, then I feel good about everything else. That's kind of the thing that I think you're going to see Paul do at Brentwood Academy. Well, I know you are, because as good of a quarterback as George McIntyre is, and he's one of the best in the country, one, two, or three top prospects in the country. He can't do anything if he's got people on his tail as soon as he turns around to throw the ball. And I think that's what Paul has spent the offseason doing, is developing an offensive protect George, because we saw it last year. He had no line. They did not protect him. He didn't have much around him, period. He didn't have great receivers. He didn't have much of anything around him. So I think, and it was baffling, because it was so easy to see, and why it wasn't fixed, we all were just scratching our heads. So we were glad to see something happen to get Brentwood Academy back to where it belongs. And I think that with Paul being a former offensive lineman himself, he was a center at DuPont, my high school. I've known Paul ever since I was in high school, graduated with his sister. And with him being, he was a center for Brad Gaines when Brad was a quarterback at DuPont. And I think you'll see an improvement just in better pass protection for George. I mean, you've got such an incredible gift right there. You don't utilize it. They didn't do that. They didn't, take advantage of what they had last year. And to be quite frank, I'm a little surprised that George finished out as, stayed. But he did, and I think that Paul had a lot to do with that as well. And so I think you put some nice pieces around him, and I don't know if the Brentwood Academy in 1 year will get back to the Carlton Flat days, but I think we'll see significant improvement this year.
Mike, let's go down to Chattanooga, one of the teams, and two of the teams really that dominate in the state. Really, it used to just be in this region specifically, but now, let's face it, it's not fair game. It's not a level playing field right now between Chattanooga, McCallie, and everybody else. Have you heard anything on a potential move, on anything going down? I mean, how long is this going to last?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on it. I'll just, I'm not going to act like I do. I haven't, because I've kind of been gone back to a project I've been working on while trying to help out locally with high schools. So I don't, I can't get into that. I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't heard anything new that we didn't already know.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. I think we talked about that actually with you recently here with George. But it will be interesting to continue to track that because I feel like as of late it's gotten to a point where you look at it and you go, something's got to give here. Kelly, I got a couple from me here still on the high school front. We talked about BA last year. That season they got mercy ruled by Father Ryan, which was really shocking. I think it was week 3. And then the next week, Father Ryan, that was their chance to potentially knock off NBA for the first time in almost 30 years. Unable to do it. NBA obviously returns Hugh Price at quarterback, Brooklyn Davis, Marty Uverard still going strong there. Is Father Ryan ever going to beat NBA? That's my question to you, Mike. Because last year, that's what we all thought. Here comes, this is Father Ryan's chance, but NBA proves everybody wrong and is able to knock off Father Ryan, which was considered an upset at the time.
I covered that game last year. I had covered almost every NBA game up to that. And because we felt, Tom Krieger, our signing editor, we felt the NBA was one of the better teams around, but they weren't winning football games. Now, they were going back and forth between Price and the other quarterback, whose first name was H. And that was holding them back a little bit. I know, Marty wanted to try to find the better of the two, and he gave both of them an equal chance. And then I think once he settled in on Hugh, and it was right around this time, it was right around when they played NBA, because he had a really good game, Hugh did. But the running back also was just outstanding in that game. And I think Father Ryan came into that game as unbelievable as it could be, a little bit too overconfident, even though it had been so long since they had beaten MBA. I think that they felt like leading up to that game, this was their year, this was their year, this was their year. And then they got out there and they thought they were just going to go through the motions and win it, and they didn't. And MBA, which had not won many games up to that point, but if you had watched them like I had, you knew they had the potential. And I think they caught, like I said, a little bit overconfident and played their best game up to that point probably, and just kept the string going.
One more locally here, Tim Hasselbeck takes over at Innsworth, which is going to be really interesting to watch. I got one question on this. Is Matt on that staff as well? Mike, do you know?
Yeah, I think he is. I know that even before Tim took the job, I think he told us off the record there would be another Hasselbeck on the staff. So that I think that happened. I don't know that I've read that, if that's official, but I believe that is, and that's the case. And that's kind of the same situation you see with Brentwood Academy, even though you don't have the one super. I think that there's enough talent at Innsworth for them to get back on track pretty fast. And I loved Rock Batten, the former coach. I covered Rock at Vanderbilt when he was at Vanderbilt. He was a defensive back at Vanderbilt, and I was the Vanderbilt beat writer at the time. Known Rock a long time. And I just don't know what happened last year. I think I saw them play one game. They played well, but they lost the game I covered, and but they were close. But they just, I thought Rock would get another year. It surprised me that he didn't get to come back this year. But you can't argue with what they did, with what Ricky Bowers did in the school in bringing Hassel back in, because I think you got a guy that knows football. I listen to him a lot on the radio, been around him a little bit, and I think if he can, I know he knows the game. Let's see if he can, get it through to his kids.
Kelly, what you got for Mike?
Mike, so let's go to the SEC, man. The media days were this past week. How many teams do you think make the playoff out of the SEC?
I think potentially 4. I won't be surprised if it's 4. I think 3's safe, but I won't be shocked if it's 4. If I was putting money on it, Kelly, and in those terms, since it's legal now, but if I were, I think I would go 3 to be safe. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's 4.
Who are those 3? Who do you think those 3 would be?
I think obviously Georgia, and I think LSU, and probably Alabama.
Oh, wow.
LSU.
So you're leaving Texas out, huh?
Yeah, well, that was my 4th, and, and Tennessee, it could be 5, but I think it would be an either or in those situations. Probably leave Alabama out and put Texas in, but and like I said, Tennessee's probably 4th or 5th in that list. But that's the ones that I would see.
We had a caller call in and talking about Vanderbilt earlier, and I've always said, with Clark Lee taking over defense, I think that's a plus for him. I think that's what he's really good at. But I like that. George brought up that Diego Pavia kid last year at New Mexico State, and he goes down to Auburn on the Plains and he beats Hugh Freeze down at Auburn. And now he's, with Jerry Killen, he's at Vanderbilt. Well, what do you like? I don't know if that parlays into wins, but I think you've got the right guy at the quarterback position for Vanderbilt to be competitive in a lot of games. What do you foresee as Vanderbilt's season this year?
I totally agree with that, Kelly. I was so glad to hear that they finally found somebody that's got some personality. He's definitely got personality, and I think he's got some ability on top of that. And for them to head into the season with a guy, they're going to say all the right things about who's going to start, but I think we know he will start. And for them to go in with a guy that they have confidence in, and I don't think they've had confidence in their quarterbacks in quite a while. I think that's going to help a lot. I totally agree with you that Clark calling the defense going to help. It's going to help Clark get back engaged more on the sideline. That's something that a lot of people have not been happy with is Clark's kind of lackadaisical attitude on the sideline. He just doesn't show a lot of emotion, and not all quarterback coaches do, and I understand that. But, when you're getting your brains beat out, something needs to happen over there. Somebody needs to do something to try to get something going. And so I think this will help Clark get more into the game than what we've seen so far, because he's going to have to. If you're going to be calling the defense in the SEC, you're going to have to be very involved. I don't know if he'll have the headset on or not. I would hope he would, but I think that's going to be a big plus. If any of this means that Vanderbilt's going to be any better than they were last year, or have been for quite a while, I don't know, and I kind of doubt it. But they got a tough schedule, but they do have some winnable games on the schedule on top. Other than that, outside the SEC. So, if you asked me, and you did, I'd say, they'll probably be in some more games than they were last year, but I don't know that we'll see much in terms of the end result in it.
So my last question, Mike, is, football season's here. It's in full swing. The Titans have started. What's your expectations for the Titans with Brian Callahan, with Will Levis, with the whole – he's got some guys around him now, so there's no excuses, and it looks like they've done a really good job up front. Because when you start talking about – when Mike Organ starts talking about offensive linemen, I'm loving that, because everything starts up front, and a quarterback understands that. So just what are your expectations for the Titans this year?
It's the same thing we've been talking about, Kelly. And I've been in this now. I think it'll be about 39th anniversary is coming up in a month. And it took me a long time, but I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago when I finally came to the realization that that's where it starts and that's all that matters. You can't get past it if you don't get that solved. I don't care what else you do. And gosh, who was there? That was we've seen in the NFL in recent history last year. It was pitiful, and it gave you no hope from the opening snap, from the first snap, and to see the quarterback get chased like they did, get injured like they did for Tennessee over the last 2 seasons. So to finally get that solved and get a guru offensive line coach in here, and Callahan's dad, I have a whole lot more hope going to this season than last season. Even though the best player on the team's gone, the quarterback is still going to be fresh, new, and having a lot of growing pains to go through. I think they helped him with a lot of pieces around him in the wide receiver room, but nothing like what I hope to see as far as the improvement on the offensive line. Now, it could be better personnel-wise on the offensive line. I still don't know that they have a right tackle. I don't know, who the starters are other than I'd say there's 3 that are solidified. But if they in the preseason with training camp open.
Mike, losing Mike a little bit there. Mike, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, we're it's getting choppy there on Mike Organ, so we'll go ahead and close. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're getting choppy a little bit, but we do have to go to the break. But Mike, thank you so much for taking the time.
All right, good to be with you guys. See you later.
All right,
Mike. That's Mike Organ from the Tennessean. Sorry about the choppiness there with the phone for Mike. He's got so many good things to say. I hate that it gets messed up there with the phone. But either way, we're coming back. We're going to take your phone calls. We're going to re-ask the question, what are the best SEC rivalries? We know about Alabama-Auburn. It's probably at the top of the list for everybody. The Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Is that number 2? Is Texas OU number 2? Texas A&M. Where's that one? Where's Georgia, Auburn, right? There's some mixes there too. Tennessee, Alabama. So what are the best SEC rivalries? 615-844-5600. Again, 615-844-5600. Also, fire away your answers in the comments section. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you are consuming the show. We've got more coming up on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Welcome back in. We're taking your phone calls, 615-844-5600. Also, your comments, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, fire away. We're asking the question, with Texas and Oklahoma now in the SEC, how do the rivalries stack up in the best conference in the country? Not outside the conference. So Clemson and South Carolina doesn't qualify, even though that's a really good rivalry. Georgia, Georgia Tech, but there's so many good rivalries within the conference. Let us know what you think, 615-844-5600. We're going to open it up in Brentwood with, go back to that call screen there, Billy. Sorry about that. James in Brentwood on line 2. James, what's going on? James, you there? All right, no James at the moment. Let's the call just dropped. Okay, let's go to Silas in Georgia. Silas, what's going on?
Not much, Billy. Headed back from a Braves game in Cobb County that was ultimately rained out. Has some storms in the area and didn't get to see the second game of a doubleheader today, but on the road back.
Yeah, so did y'all think they were going to try to get the game 2 in tonight?
Well, Game 2 was the reschedulement of last night's game that was also rained out, and so there was some hope in the ballpark. Game 1 was played this morning around noon. Braves fall to the Reds 9-4. for the Braves, they had Winans on the mound. He gave up a lot of runs early, and he was actually just sent down to the minors this afternoon retroactively. So not a good day for the Braves in Game 1, but they ended up canceling the game before it even started, before the rain came down, just with a lot of surrounding thunderstorms in the area.
Well, there's your Braves update. So no Braves full show today, no Braves Game 2 today. But, Silas, you got an answer? How do the rivalries in the SEC stack up in your mind?
Well, I think number one is the Iron Bowl. I think that's pretty undebatable. You have images like 2014, the kick six, and then this last year, the 4th and 31. I know both plays are just heartache for each other and straight joy for the fans of either team. So I think Iron Bowl is number one. I think the Egg Bowl is number two. There's not much that beats sitting down on the couch after a nice Thanksgiving dinner and watching the Egg Bowl. And then they've had a lot of historical moments, including personal fouls and missed field goals to end the game. I think third is the Red River rivalry. I know we haven't seen it much in the SEC yet, but the Cotton Bowl is such an iconic venue, and I think that'll be a fun addition to the conference. I think 4 is where it gets a little foggy. That's where I have the third Saturday in October. I know more recently that's gotten a lot heated than it has been the last 15 years, but you look back prior to the turn of the millennium and then now in the last 5 years, I think that's a very competitive rivalry. And then at 5, I have LSU and Florida. If you think back to 10 years ago, usually a night game. Those LSU fans have been drinking things
all
other
day
than water throughout the day, getting all rowdy. And then you had those Tim Tebow, Steve Spurrier games, and it was quite rowdy back in the day.
I like that list. That's a really good list. Obviously, Bama and Auburn's got to be at the top.
No love for the cocktail party.
That's
what I was
the one.
Gonna say. No love for the biggest cocktail party in Jacksonville.
Cocktail party would be right off the list for me. That's up there.
Yeah.
That could be an argument for 5.
I do like the LSU Florida. That's one we forget about.
That's a fun one.
I mean, you had the shoe throw incident that just cost Florida that game. And it's similar to the Egg Bowl. You see some stupid stuff happen, usually at night. Like Georgia and Auburn, too, whenever they get together. What is Deep South's oldest rivalry is another really good one. Last year, Auburn almost knocked them off. So there's a lot that you could consider after, I think, your top two, really, in these lists. But
can you count LSU, Alabama?
There's another one. I mean, there's so many, and there's more that are going to emerge as well. I guarantee you, Oklahoma, Missouri is going to be a really
spicy
good rivalry. You got Missouri and Arkansas that has kind of flared up here. Missouri's dominated them, so that's what you have to look up as well. But Silas, appreciate it. Looks like Silas dropped. We do have James in Brentwood back on the line with us. James, best rivalries in the SEC. What's going on?
What's going on? Yeah, I got a little mixed up. It's good, though. Yeah.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so agreeing with the last caller, the Iron Bowl has to be number one. I mean, all those moments these past several years, any game in Jordan Hare, in my opinion, could go any way, especially in Auburn, Georgia. And then number 2, I'm going to give it to the Red River rivalry. I think that game, the amount of moments, the big plays, the star power in that game, the location matters too, in my opinion, the split in Dallas. And then number 3, I'll go the Egg Bowl. Like Silas just said, all those crazy moments, that extra point incident a couple years ago with the celebration was hilarious. And then number 4, I'm going to go Georgia, Florida in Jackson. I feel like you have to give love to that game. It hasn't been as competitive these last couple seasons, but especially back in the mid-2000s, it was a really intense rivalry. I think back to Mark Rick and that whole incident where Georgia scored and they all ran on the field. I don't know if y'all remember that. But and then 5, it's a toss-up with me between Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia and Auburn. I feel like they're both similar, both different states, but I don't know. Both are Both are pretty close, and then right outside that, I have Texas A&M and Texas.
That's interesting. You forget about A&M and Texas because I think that has potential to be top 2 or 3, really. They just haven't played since 2011. But James, appreciate it. Good list.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Kelly, let's get to your list. We're going to reveal ours, and I didn't really give you all a ton of time to prepare these, but
yeah, way to go, Billy. Thanks.
I've been making.
Go ahead.
I'll give mine. Number 1, Alabama-Auburn. It has to be at the top. I still think the Egg Bowl is right behind it because of the pure hatred. And there's hatred in every rivalry, but something stupid happens every time Mississippi State Ole Miss play. I mean, it's just something stupid that the team will cost them the game happens. I still think Florida-Georgia is a really good rivalry as well. I'll have them at 3. Red River, Texas-OU at 4. And I think all of a sudden here, the last couple of years, even before Tennessee beat Alabama, they were knocking on the door. I think this is going to be the beginning, the rejuvenation of that rivalry, which for the longest time, Kelly, was one of the best as well in the SEC. 3rd Saturday in October. I'm going to go Bama-Tennessee at 5, just because I think more of the potential of it here in the next 3, 4, 5 years. You still got LSU, Bama, Georgia, Auburn, Texas A&M. So that'll be mine. Kelly, what you got?
I mean, that's some good. I think it's in the SEC, it's got to be the Iron Bowl. Although I did say earlier in the show what Bear Bryant said. He said everybody thinks that Auburn, Alabama is the main show, but he said I always feel like we've got to beat Tennessee. That's our biggest rival because we're going up there in their state sometimes and getting players. So I'll go Alabama, Auburn to begin, and then I'm gonna go Alabama, Tennessee just because I grew up watching that rivalry. I was I lived in Fayetteville, which is right on the line. So you're either an Alabama fan or you're an Auburn fan, or not an Auburn fan, but a UT fan. Tennessee. And I always grew up as an Alabama fan. Don't know why I just was not a Tennessee guy. Then you got to go the Egg Bowl. I think the Egg Bowl is classic. I mean, it doesn't matter if Mississippi State or Ole Miss is terrible. Each team has a chance to win that game, which is amazing.
They could both be 3 and 9, and it's still awesome.
Still have a slobber knocker, dude. And then I got to go, with Texas, Oklahoma coming in, the Red River rivalry, and then I'm going to go the biggest cocktail party in Jacksonville. I'm going to go Georgia, Florida.
I like it, Billy.
Yeah, I'm going to go. This may shock some people. The Iron Bowl's got some great moments, but I'm going to put Egg Bowl number 1 because the Iron Bowl is unwatchable every year it's in Tuscaloosa. That game is never competitive every other year.
That's true.
It's
Billy.
great when it's at Jordan-Hare, and Auburn always plays that game close, and there's some great moments. But it doesn't matter. Records, teams, players, coaches, the Egg Bowl is always fantastic. There's also like a very class thing in Mississippi that's divided that state and just fuels that hatred in terms of generations of Ole Miss and Mississippi State people just loathing everything about each other. At 3, I think I'd go Florida, Georgia. Again, it's lost a little bit of its luster just because Georgia's been so dominant. But even in 2020, I remember that Dan Mullen team going around it was 20, where they went and threw the ball around the yard. Some great moments in the Mark Richt and even the Will Muschamp era, however short it was at Florida. And then there were just some spicy moments in those games. This may be recency bias for me growing up when I did, but LSU, Alabama, just the players that played in that game, the intensity of that game year in and year out is special. And then 5, I'd go OU, Texas, Red River.
Yeah, I feel like LSU, Alabama was more of a respect factor type thing. You saw some hatred, of course, but that was a top 5 matchup for a run of about 3 or 4 years.
It was just a special game every time they got together.
Yeah.
So let's broaden out. So what do y'all think is the biggest rivalry? It's obviously Michigan, Ohio State, correct?
Yep.
But look at look at some of the other ones around. You got the Civil War between, is it West Virginia, Pittsburgh?
No, that's the backyard brawl.
They call it?
Backyard brawl.
That's the backyard brawl.
Civil War is Oregon State.
Oregon State.
The Apple
and
Cup.
Then, Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, you got some really good rivalries
Border
out there.
war?
You look at South Carolina. Yeah, you look at South Carolina and Clemson. I mean, you look at Georgia Tech,
Yeah.
which hadn't been competitive in a while. But man, there's that's what makes college football so great, man. You've got all these rivalries. They're at the end of the year. It's something to look forward to. It's really cool, and that's what we love about college football.
Yeah, get ready. You guys will get to see this next year, but Kansas is coming to Missouri the first time they've played in football in a decade and a half, and that is one of the great rivalries in the sport that I think's been buried a little bit by conference realignment. They've played a little bit in basketball, but Kansas is just light years ahead of Missouri in that department. But get ready for that. I mean, that's
gonna be
clean,
awesome.
Unadulterated
Well,
hatred.
and
So.
some of these are bigger in basketball.
Yeah,
like Kansas, Missouri might be bigger
in
in
basketball than it is in football. Yeah,
and even baseball emerging now. You've got some bigger rivalries like Vanderbilt, Tennessee, but football obviously not much of a rivalry here as of late. But my thing, I like the Paul Bunyan Trophy, Michigan State. Just always freezing cold. It just looks like the field hurts, and guys get up, they hold the trophy, which looks huge. You've also got Yale Harvard, the game. Right, that's what they call it.
That's right. Yeah.
A lot of great trophy games in the Midwest. That's something we don't do as much of in the South, but
yeah,
$10 bits of Broken Chair and Floyd of Rosedale. There's some good ones up there.
I did see Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech have a trophy, and it's actually a cowbell. It's what looks like I can't remember if it's either gold or silver. I didn't know if you knew that, Kelly. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech for the longest time haven't played in a while. Obviously, I think since 2000 they've played 4 times, I want to say, with Georgia Tech winning all 4 times. But I did see where they've got a trophy for that game. So, it's a lot of them you got to rediscover. You've got to get these back because teams have won 15, 20 straight years, which is really cool. But we'll continue that conversation coming up. And if you want to chime in, 615-844-5600, or let us know in the comments section on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. We'll take a break and be right back with more talk here on 95.9 FM.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
And Kevin Todd. Become part of Kevin Todd's inner circle and you'll have access to his upset specials. Dogs winning outright. Favorites running away to win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let the sportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now, 800-220-6262.
Welcome back in. We're keeping the conversation rolling here on 95.9 FM alongside Kelly Holcomb. I'm Billy Derrick and Billy Jones. We asked the question, what are the best rivalries in the SEC? And then Kelly took it a little bit further. What are the best rivalries in the country? We just kind of rambled some off. Harvard-Yale came up. The old Oak and Bucket, Purdue and Indiana was another one that came up.
That's the one I was thinking, yeah.
That's another one that's bigger in basketball, though. Football, I don't think anybody cares about that rivalry in football unless, Indiana's had some decent years. Purdue had some solid years, but they've never been good enough. That's the other thing, Kelly. What makes a great rivalry is a question I love to answer. I think, number one, you've got to have two teams that are consistently good, right? A good rivalry doesn't feature a couple of 2-10 and 3-9 teams facing off every year, right? The good rivalries, like, for example, Tennessee-Vanderbilt baseball, right? Those are two teams you can rely on to be in the top 10, top 15 in the country every year in college baseball. Ohio State-Michigan. Same thing, top 5 every year. But also the fabric of the two fan bases and some of the – I love the differences between – and that's why I like Billy's choice there, number one, the Egg Bowl. I mean, you cannot have two more different fan bases between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Ole Miss, they don't even allow open flames at their tailgates. Mississippi State says – here, come on, if you want to tailgate and actually grill, which it's just those things like that, that make rivalries great. Kelly, what in your mind makes a great rivalry?
Well, I mean, I said it earlier when I was with the Browns, man, you have to, they always said we were, rivals with the Steelers, but you got to beat a team. It can't be one-sided. Yeah. And a lot of times, you start out as rivals, and then one team, for whatever reason, kind of picks it up, starts recruiting better, maybe starts paying better. I don't know, but, they win a lot in a row. And, I just then it becomes not a rivalry anymore. You look at the team that I talked about in the NFL. Now it's Pittsburgh and Baltimore because those two teams. Now Cleveland's starting to pick it up a little bit, and Cincinnati. So that's a juggernaut of a division. But yeah, I think the fans have to be the fanatical about it. That's where fans come from. I think they have to be fanatical about it. And I think you got to have teams that are normally, pretty consistent winning. And then, obviously you're going to have a team every now and then have a bad year. But then when that rivalry came, the one that kills me is the USC-UCLA, because USC has been good for a while, and then USC has not been, but UCLA hadn't been great.
It's not a rivalry anymore.
Yeah, well, I know, but still, UCLA beats them sometimes. The Kelly guy, Coach Kelly, he won when they were really bad a couple of years ago. They beat USC, and nobody ever thought that was going to happen. So,
There was a Pete Carroll year, too, right? They walked him out of the playoff when they beat him on the final day of the regular season.
Absolutely. So that's the one that kind of shocks me all the time, the UCLA-USC game. And obviously with them going to the Big Ten, they'll still play. So I just think you've got to have two teams that, have a hatred for each other. That's why I think the Texas A&M deal could grow. I mean, it's a rivalry, but them being in the SEC now, I think that could be, that could be the Red River rivalry, or that could be the Iron Bowl at some point with the way these two teams hate each other.
I'll add a caveat, too, that, to Kelly's point, you do have to beat a team to maintain a rivalry. But even if it's not close to a 50-50 split, I think an important thing is if you beat them when they're good.
Yeah.
Even if you don't win a lot of games, like I think about that, Auburn especially, they've been such a thorn, and some really good Alabama teams side. I've walked them out of the SEC championship twice. Like UCLA, kind of the same deal with USC. You don't have to necessarily beat a team all the time. Arkansas LSU is kind of this way too. But if you can beat them when the other team is good enough, then you can kind of keep that spark in there.
Notre Dame USC is another. You talk about historical rivalry that the West Coast elitists, right, versus Notre Dame, kind of the more the blue collar Midwest school. That I love the history behind those as well, and that's also what makes up a great rivalry. We're running out of time though. We're going to take one more break, and then we'll get to bet of the day, and then we'll wrap this baby up right here at 95.9 FM.
Good afternoon. Still trying to clean up a couple of wrecks out here. It remains pretty heavy at times, but it's moving for the most part up through Madison on 65 northbound as you get involved in that traffic there trying to get on to Vietnam Vets, continuing on out into Sumner County towards Hendersonville. It's busy, but it's moving for the most part. 24 eastbound as we started live here out into Rutherford County. There was radar out there earlier on 24 around 840 in Rutherford County. Prince's Hot Chicken has new items on the menu, princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
There aren't any cops around.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
Hey, I can hold my liquor.
I drink and drive all the time.
If you put away some drinks, put away your keys. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Summer is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code SIZZLE at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code SIZZLE for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Atlanta Braves baseball is back, and the battle for a 7th straight division title is officially on.
Hit high and deep to left center. This has got a chance. Gone! Another home run for Olsen. He smokes another one. He lit the fuse on this bomb, and that's gone.
Listen to every pitch live, exclusively on your home for Atlanta Braves baseball. WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
It's time for Billy Derrick's Bet of the Day, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give him a call, 615 242-9000. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday.
Good gracious, Billy.
This has not been good.
You suck worse than George.
I was about to say, he's making him look good, Kelly.
I didn't think that was possible.
Gracious.
I don't know. Why can't we get a freaking win? I don't understand this. I mean, I thought tonight we're getting a win. We are absolutely getting a win. The White Sox.
Book it like George does. Book it.
I am booking this tonight. Look at this money line. Rangers minus 278. I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's a lot of weight, Billy. That's a lot of weight.
That's a bold take right there. White Sox could be the worst team ever in baseball. So we just got to get back on the board with a win somehow. Kelly, I'm going Rangers tonight against the Sox.
The worst team ever, man. We were talking about the Oakland A's last year being the worst team ever. Now the White Sox are there.
Yeah,
we're not getting the White Sox down here, are we? I mean, George is steady more getting the A's down here now. Can we get the White Sox?
Yeah, I remember for a while you were sick of all the A's talk. Every
gracious, that's all he wanted to talk about was the Oakland A's coming to Nashville.
And now it's the White Sox coming to Nashville.
I mean, Hagen Smith, there's worse places to start than that.
It's headed to the White Sox. And they're going to lose Garrett Crochet as well here to whoever. I mean, the Braves could use Garrett Crochet. But speaking of the Braves, no Braves tonight. No game 2. They were going to try to play it like Silas said. He was down there waiting for it, but no Braves today. They will play tomorrow against the Mets, I think it is. But show notes for tomorrow. Danny Evans will join us. He will actually join us in the 4 o'clock hour. So we'll open the phones like everybody likes to do for Danny, probably around 4:45 tomorrow. So Danny's going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour instead of the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow, and we'll continue some of the football talk there in the second hour tomorrow. But Kelly, we're all done. You got one more day with me. I think you can hang in there.
I'm good. I like it. George goes when he goes on sabbatical, man. He's gone. Like he doesn't talk to anybody.
He's off the face of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah. Text anybody, call anybody. He's gone.
He's been sending me
some. Where did he go? Do we know where he went?
He went to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Shocking.
he sent me some beach pictures though. So that's
sunsets or just regular beach.
Just regular beach pictures.
Okay.
That's the only thing I've.
What are we going to come back? What are we going to do when he comes back with just a golden tan? You think he's been getting some sun, or you think he's
already got that
away?
Olive look? He doesn't have to. Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, he's Greek. He's already got the olive look. But tell him we don't need to see all that, man.
No. Well, we got one more day with Kelly tomorrow, and then Friday I think it'll be just Billy and I, and we'll keep the show rolling. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.